Unfiltered talk show where we dive into fascinating lives of athletes. My name is Ahmed Hafsa, and here in our studio we have a guest, Simon Bwat, who is the chairman of the retired athletes. I'd like you to tell us, or our viewer who doesn't know you, in brief, who you are.
I am Simon Bwat, former marathon runner. I'm retired in athletics, but I started my journey in my primary school. I was born in a place called Koech village, Kipsangui sub-location. Kongasis location was in Gishu County in the Kenya nation. And I went to Kipsangui Primary School. And while I was in primary, I used to compete with my age mates. After that, I went to Kipsangui High School. And after Kipsangui High School, I also tried to search for employment. And I later on went to Nairobi and joined Moi Air Base athletics team. And I believe that's where my athletics career was baked.
You started running when you were in primary. As you grew up. What inspired you to start running with your friends until you joined Moi, till you entered your career of athlete?
My career started like just a hobby, because at the primary level, we were not really competing for anything serious. But as young boys,
yes,
anything when you move out seems to be a kind of competition. My memory takes me back to when I started the class 1 as a young boy. That time, we had the lessons in class. And then apart from that, we used to have activity games, whereby you go outside to play games. Apart from that also, we used to do art and craft. And art and craft is where you grab something from maybe wood. Sometimes you could go and dig clay. And that is where my memory takes me back. We used to have a small place in my primary where I used to go and dig out the clay so that we bring it back for molding some shapes and other things. And immediately when our class teacher told us to go out, we used to run very fast. Everybody wanted to be the first one arriving at the clay point. So I can remember there was only one boy who used to beat me. I used to be number 2 all the time.
Okay.
And then after that,
yes,
we came to now class 3, class 4 is when competition was guided by teachers. And what inspired us at that time is that for those who were going for games, after the competition with other schools we had in the schools, they could have opportunity maybe to have a bread and a soda. And during that time,
to take soda and bread because you want to compete.
Yeah, so you want to compete so that you can access that soda.
Yes.
Because in the village, even having that soda, maybe it takes a whole year before you see one.
Maybe during Christmas or even
during Christmas always.
Okay,
so sports gave us opportunity to access that soda and the bread. And then also, you remember that time, we used to pay what we call activity fee. So, and I came from a family with many children. So we used to pay 20 shillings each or 30 shillings. And when you look at that amount, it's a big amount. When we multiply by around 10 children in the family. So we used to discuss, and I say, with what is being paid in the family, I have to make sure that I use the money. So the only way to use it was to make the team of my school.
And make the parents proud.
Yes.
So, because in your family you're many, were your parents supportive of you being a part of the athlete? Even the school and the teachers, were they supportive of your competition with others? They give you support, or they say that that's waste of time?
Okay, what I can say is that for my parents, they had their own struggles, maybe in terms of trying to put food on the table. I came from a humble family. And I can say that they were not so keen, maybe following what's going up in school. So the only people who knew about maybe these issues of running and what was the teachers.
Okay.
Maybe the games teacher.
Yes.
I remember the games teacher that we had at that time was very encouraging. So those are the people that used to encourage us. And they could even mention names like Kipchoge Keino. Is when you want to know who is this Kipchoge Keino. You hear the name that Kipchoge Keino is somebody who has run and he has gone outside Kenya.
And you want to be like him.
So you want to be like him. So it was the games teacher who introduced that topic, and he was telling me, he used to call me by my grandfather's name, which was called Aramesegina. So he used to call me Aramesegina. If you take your career seriously, you will represent this country like Kipchoge Keino. Yeah.
And you took his advice and put seriousness in it.
I continue to take it as a hobby. I didn't understand so well, so we just wanted to enjoy that period, to be part of the team. You want to be ahead of maybe your competitor. That's the competition at the primary level. And I think the opening, the opportunity that came when I realized that this athletics is serious is when I joined Form 1. I joined Kipsangui High School in 1989, and I remember they also have that organized competition among the schools, first within the school itself. We used to have what we call houses, and we compete what we call in the houses. So during competition, I led in cross country, and I was given to be the cross country captain. And then when we went to the track, I remember I came to Kipchoge Stadium, and that time they were planning to have a team going to Commonwealth. So what was done here in Wasingishu was done what we call trials in the whereby the schools parastatals were coming to compete together. So when I competed that time, I was among the leading group until the last time when I was given an extra lap. So instead of finishing number 2, I was given number 5. So, and I followed how number 1 was performing, because number 1 was called Sami Lele. He was employed by Kenya Power, and he had lapped many people, and that's where confusion came. So when they were counting those who had been lapped, I was counted among one. Okay. But there was all the man who came and complained and said this boy was number 2, but nobody was listening at that time. So I followed how Sami really was going. He went to provincial, he led. And then there was somebody who was number 2, called Joseph Kibor. So I followed again. In the nationals, Sami Lele was not there. So the guy who was number 2 managed to make the team to Commonwealth, and he was a high school student. So I remember I bought a newspaper that was carrying a ball. So when I look at him, because he was number 2 in provincial, and I was denied that opportunity at, you can say, maybe district level. Yes. So I thought if this guy was number 2, I didn't go to provincial. If I had gone to provincial, maybe I could have followed Zamilele.
Okay.
So I saw it was possible for me now to really pursue this career and become an international athlete. So that's what opened my eye.
That's
at
opened
that
your
time.
eyes.
Yes.
Okay. So, how back then would you deal with mentally, physically, with the challenges when you're training or maybe when you're going for competitions?
Okay, in athletics there are many challenges.
Yes.
First, there is a challenge of having told you that I came from a humble background. The challenge, first of all, when you start to train and you are picking up to a speed that is higher, you find that you need good training shoes. So there was the challenge of training shoes, and then also with training comes also injuries. So I remember after that 1989, when Kipor had managed to go to Commonwealth, in 1990 I started a very serious training because I wanted to go to the national. So I was preparing for cross country, but all of a sudden I got an infection in my foot, and then the games teacher at that time had confidence in me. I remember when I got that infection, he had already bought new spikes because he didn't want me to suffer maybe in terms of shoes, because in 1989 when we came to the district here, I suffered because I was running barefoot. So before I completed, I had blisters in my toes. Yeah. So he had brought new spikes, but I didn't have the opportunity to wear that spikes because I got infection, and I had to go home now to treat the leg. So it requires a lot of patience, because I remember that infection took almost 5 months to heal. And by the time it was healing, even that leg that was infected was somehow slim. So I knew now here I could not go back to athletics. So I came back only to concentrate on studies. Not until 1993 when I tried again the issues of in the houses. And when I went back to my disciplines, 5,000 event, 3,000 steeplechases, I won again in the meet. And I managed to go to the national level in steeplechases. So that's the time now I realized I come back again, somehow miraculously.
And now you're back to your track.
Yeah, so the only way you can manage those challenges was when it comes to injuries, you have to be patient and accept and wait for the healing to happen, and then you can start again. Because when you are injured, when you are starting from zero.
Yes.
So you can just imagine you have to build again that training just from the beginning until the top. The issue of training shoes, because I remember that one also was a challenge that I had. So what I used to do is that during Christmas or December, in our area, people normally harvest at around December. So during harvesting, I could go and request maybe farmers with big farms, so that I can assist in harvesting the maize. So when I harvest, I am paid for the sacks I harvest. And I remember I used to harvest around 12 sacks per day. So I can do it maybe for 2 weeks or 1 month. And then having accumulated this money, I go now and look for good training shoes. I buy, and that one will now assist me for the season that is coming ahead.
Okay.
Yes.
So the athletes, there are those who join the game when they have small body, but as when they do the training, they gain the body. And there are those who come to the game when their body is big, but with time they reduce their body. Do you think there is any effect during the training, or it's just normal for it to happen?
Okay, in that case, it depends on the magnitude of the training. There is some trainings that you start because you have to start slowly. You need to start maybe jogging so that you prepare your muscles, and also you try to manage so that you don't get injuries. Because if you come when you have a lot of weight and you do intensive training, the chances of getting an injury is high. So you need to start slowly, and the purpose of starting slowly is to shed the weight, and at the same time you try to gain what we call endurance. You are developing the endurance, and maybe trying also to develop the traveling speed. So if you jog again, if you jog maybe a short distance and then you come, you will realize that your body will become healthy, and maybe you will have an appetite to eat well. So when you eat well with small training, you are likely to do what? To gain weight.
Yes.
So that training program must be managed. If it is jogging, you have to say maybe this week you go for 30 minutes,
Okay.
next week you increase to 45 minutes, the other week you go slowly. So that you don't go every day, maybe 15 minutes, and then you come, you say you have done training. You realize that you will not even reduce the weight. Instead, you can gain the weight.
Okay.
So that training must also be somehow, must come with a price. You have to really sweat when you are training. Make sure that when you are training, you go at a distance that you are likely to sweat. And you realize that the people are starting also, they wear the sweating clothes, so that you are trying now to reduce the weight. And then as you move on, there are other tactics you use in training. You now introduce the speed walk, you go to fat leg, you go to heel walk. Those now are supposed to help you now to bear the challenges that you will meet when you are competing. The issue of stress, the issue of how you can outsmart your competitors comes when you do the speed walk, you go to heel walk. So you need to develop endurance, you go to speed walk, and also you have to be prepared also mentally, and need to be strong psychologically.
In the just ended event, there has been a dominance of women over men. What could be the reason of that happening?
Yes, during our time, I remember.
In the current event that just happened.
Yeah, during our time.
Yes.
Maybe I can pick it up from there.
Okay.
I can just maybe, I can even pick one event that I managed to attend.
Yeah.
I represented Kenya in 2001 World Championship, which was done in Canada. And I remember that time, all medals that were won by men. We were number 3 after US and I think Russia. So we are among the superpower when it comes to athletics.
Okay.
But medals that we had at that time was only men.
No woman.
But no woman. If you pick the World Championship that just ended last year, the gold that we had came only from Faith Kipyegon, who is now a lady.
Yes.
The men did not have even a single medal. So the scenario that has happened here is that you know, Kenya has been strong, maybe especially in the side of men. And every country has been desiring what the Kenyans are doing. And you remember, we have the Ethiopians, we have other countries, and everybody wants to square it on specific events. The areas that we used to dominate was between middle and long distance running. And the Ethiopians also, for some time, have been trying to capture those areas. These are the areas we are competing with the Ethiopians. We didn't have Uganda at that time, but now Uganda is coming very strong.
Yeah.
So the areas that Kenya used to dominate now, we are now trying to struggle with Ethiopians. What I can say is that little has been done by the government to invest in development of sports. Kenya for many years have had the assumption that this is our event. And as we speak today, that is a belief that's only in the mind. But I am telling you, when it comes to men, Kenya is out. Yeah, you can prove this from the previous World Championship.
Yes.
800 was won by Canada. 3,000 meters triple J's went to Ethiopia. That has been the Kenyan event. 10,000, the best we can remember is in that team that I told you he was among that team, 2001.
Yes.
When Charles Kamati managed to stage the great Haile Selassie. You know, we came with a gold in 10,000 meters. We came with gold in 5,000 meters. We came with gold in 3,000 meters. And this was men alone. So those events have gone.
Yes.
The only advantage we had is that when men manage to dominate in athletics, our ladies have also been trying to catch up. They took their training seriously, and I think they have been developing. They want to do how the boys are doing. And the other countries, they have not concentrated so much in the side of ladies. I think they have been watching what the Kenyan men are doing. So we are now out now in the men. So we need to watch out, because now they will also do something about the ladies. Yeah. So although we have also Ethiopians who sometimes are very strong, but our only hope now, as we go to Olympics, is ladies. If you look at the men, we still have to organize ourselves. We had great hope maybe from the late Kiptum, but we just lost them this year.
So sad.
So that's the area I was seeing, maybe Kenya, we could clinch that gold medal in many marathon. But we still have hope. We hope maybe Eliud Kipchoge will capitalize on his experience to see if he can get a gold in that marathon. But I am telling you, it's not going to be easy, because the world champion, the marathon world champion, will be aspiring to have the world champion gold and Olympic gold. So it's going to be tough. Likewise to the 800 meters champion in World Championship wants to take Olympics. So, but I think in the side of ladies, that's the area that Kenya is still relying on. But what I am praying is that we should not get blind, because already our disciplines are gone. So it's only that sometimes people believe that Kenya is performing very well because of the ladies. But in terms of the men, something has to be done. I can say that what happened is that we lost track along the way. because the management of sports did not take the champions seriously. Because the champions of yesteryears were supposed to be to mentor there. They were supposed even to train. But I think along the way, those people were left to retire and go and vanish, and they were forgotten. And this young generation came to find a field whereby they even don't understand, because the challenge that Kenya is facing now is the doping challenge. You will find the young boys believe now if you don't dope, you cannot perform. So it's an enemy now we are fighting, because the management allowed those mentors who ran clean to give way to a young generation. They were handled by people who are not running, who are not athletes, and now we have a serious belief that the young generation now believes that you have to do so that you win. So unless we bring back again those the older generation to come and talk to the young, to tell them you can still train and run clean and win, that challenge will still remain with us.
You, as the chairman of the retired athletes, do you think these athletes are being taken good care of, or they have forgotten the way you've said, or the government is doing something about them?
What I can say is that the retired athletes have been left to chart their own waters. The government, if you look at Athletes Kenya, their interest is about the young talent. If you go to the Ministry of Sports, their interest is the young challenge. And Athletics Kenya realizes that there is a lost opportunity that was lost along the way. And when they look at the retired athletes at this time, they see it as a very big challenge that maybe it is impossible to address. So it is something they want to do away with. They want to forget completely. They want just to sugarcoat some issues. That's why sometimes they appoint somebody around here. And this one is a representative of athletes. But down in their memory, I think to them it's a challenge that they don't even know what to do about. So I believe that the challenges maybe that are facing the retired athletes, majority of the challenges or the issues can be handled by the retired athletes themselves. In fact, they want to bring value to athletics, and that is why they are fought in many fronts. You remember recently they ruled this case of athletics in Kenya, and they said those who are in office are supposed to forget.
Yes.
It is the retired athletes who filed that case. And as to why they filed that case, it's because they wanted a space whereby they can also give their input. But instead of Athletes Kenya trying to understand them, they decide to fight them to make sure that they don't have any space in athletics. They don't have a role. They say they have to stay away from the young talent. So they pride themselves that they are now developing the young talent. But they are saying for retired athletes, let them stay aside. They have not given them that opportunity to come to the table and we discuss what we really want. Because as a retired athlete, we want Kenya to still continue to be the best country in Africa and in the world. We want a space whereby also you can input on what is happening in the sports. But that space has not been there. If you look at how election is run, it's just
a kind of, the only thing we can remember is during those days of the Kanu era, whereby we had that delegate system, and then at the delegate system at the national level, they say so and so as corner and unopposed. They have not realigned it to the 2010 constitution. They had not realigned this constitution to the Sports Act. And when retired at least 5 years, they wanted this constitution to be alive to the current constitution, to be alive to the governments that apart from the national government we now have the county governments. What is happening at the grassroots in development of young talent? You look at, there is nothing that's going on. And if we can stay like this for long, you will realize that even maybe the areas of ladies are going to be invaded by other countries. And in few years to come, Kenya will not appear anywhere in athletics when it comes to Olympics and World Championships. So for men, we are now struggling.
Okay.
So we thank God that we have our ladies who have come strongly. So what we want now is let the management of sports listen to the retired athlete.
Yes.
Let us come together and develop a sporting country whereby everybody is proud of it, whereby even the retired athletes are able to look back and say that we are proud of our country, rather than having represented the country and nobody wants to see you in front. Yeah.
As you can see, the newly crowned championship, the year 2024, that is Kiplimo from Uganda, was involved in a grisly accident, but managedly survived. Do you think the athletes are supposed to be given security to avoid these accidents, or what should be done all over for these athletes?
Okay, what I can say is that everything comes to the issue of mentorship. What athletes requires is only that mentorship. We need those who are managing them to be responsible people. People who care about athletes. If an athlete is performing, when he purchases a car, let somebody take responsibility to take him through driving lessons. And also be guided that he has to be patient for everything. Before you even become a champion, you don't become a champion overnight. So realize that I can buy a car today. After 2 days, I am learning using my car. In 1 month, I am driving at 100 kilometers per hour. So as these are young people with a lot of energy. So when they take that wheel, they want to experience with that energy of a youth. So the best thing we can do to them is that mentorship. Let us talk to them that when you have a car, take time to learn, go through driving lessons, go slowly as you improve on. Take care, because the routes also that we are using are not good. Apart from the issue of maybe driving with high speed, our roads in Africa are not so good. If you look at the Kenyan roads, main roads are not clearly marked. So when we are going at night, you can easily move out of the road without knowing. So we need that discussion. But we still believe that accidents can still be reduced, it can be avoided, but it is true that the same mentorship, the same training, the same counseling, the same training and the same education. So we need to educate one another.
Okay.
Yes.
Also, there's this funny question I'd like to ask you. If you were to be told by someone back then, Simon, I don't want you to be an athlete. I want you to choose either to be a chef or a teacher. Which one will you go for and why?
Okay. If is
It is a must to choose between chef and teacher, one of them. Which one will you go for?
It is a technical question, huh? Which I think we don't have a straight answer. Because I've told you that for an athlete who is talented, who is talented, there is no way you can stop him from pursuing that talent. It is like a seed that has been planted in the ground, so it has to germinate.
Yes.
Because I can tell you for my case, after Form 4, I became a businessman. I opened a kiosk and I started selling sugar. I was selling, buying eggs in the village. So the business was doing very well, according to my understanding. That understanding of the village. Because I had the money, so I was planning. I remember I acquired a bicycle and I was dreaming. Now I was saying in the next 2 or 3 years, I'll get what? I'll purchase a pickup. But somebody did a mistake. He came and pinned an advertisement in the shop that I was selling, my shop now. That we have a competition in a nearby primary school. So I remember that I used to run in high school. So I said, with this one, I have to go also and compete. So, so it's something that's in plan. So I went. So that day during competition, I left my kiosk and I went to participate in the competition, and I won. I came again to district. I was number 2. I went to provincial. So I had to assign somebody to take care of the kiosk basket first, so that I handle this issue of because this is the area I love. This is my hobby.
So there's no way.
So I don't know who chose another one. Did I use athletics or athletics?
Chose you.
Chose you.
So between chef and teacher, there's no point you're going to both of them.
There is no way you have to. There is one that will take you away.
Sure.
Yeah.
As we wind up, what would you like to tell our viewer who is watching us? What would you like to tell them?
Okay, to our viewers, this is Kenya, a great country in sports, especially athletics. There are many things that is now happening in Kenya. We are looking forward to these coming Olympics. There is a ruling that has disbanded Athletics Kenya. For those who are in offices, they still feel that they have done a lot for this country, which we don't deny. They still believe that they should be given time, maybe to continue developing athletics, which we don't deny them. For those who are outside, those who challenged Athletics Kenya, there is something also that they aspired. They wanted to also contribute in making this country great in sports. They are looking upon this case that was ruled recently as an opportunity to turn around athletics. They want to put their energy so that this country can still remain the best country in athletics in the global stage. So the thinking is the same, because all we want the best for our country. What is missing is that cup whereby we can come together and reason together. I appeal to the Minister or CS Sports, Ababo Namwamba, that he should take a neutral point you should bring the warring parties together in the same table so that you can reason together and find a way to make athletics great the way it used to be in this country. For the men, we know where we were and where we are at this particular time. I appeal to the former athletes, wherever you are in your villages, visit your primary school, visit a secondary school, and do something. Inspire the young athletes and guide them. Tell them to believe that as a Kenyan, you can train, you can run clean, and you can conquer the world. Thank you.
We hope you find the interview insightful and educative. This interview was proudly sponsored by Premier Atlanta Consultants in partnership with Atlanta Media and Events. My name is Ahmed Hafsa.